Hey guys, how are we doing? It's Martin Cliffe here, and this is a follow-up to my last video where I looked at the drive tones I used, and I mentioned the alternate preset function. The RJM Music Mastermind MIDI controller has this alternate preset function built in, which is just one step of the pedal. If I show you the controller, I apologise that it's a little bit dusty, but basically what we have on this is we have 5 pedals for choosing our different sounds, and we can use banks up and down, and then we've got this function button which can do all sorts of things, but the way I tend to use it is for this what we call alternate preset, where basically you press it and an A comes on the display, and it actually switches bank on the Mini Effect Gizmos. So the way I have this set up, I have just an alternative tone. You can do something completely different depending on your setup, but the way I have it set up is fairly simple, where it just gives me a variation on the tone, and that's what I'm going to run through for you in this video, just the way I have this set up on my first bank. So the first tone, if you remember from the last video, was a clean tone. And I love that clean tone. I could play it all day, so I didn't really need anything crazy doing to that. But all I wanted to do really was to make that louder. So what I do is I press the alternate preset, it kicks in the Custom Audio Electronics boost pedal. And it just makes things very slightly louder, but what it is doing is it's pushing the front end of the amp slightly. This amp's set really clean. I don't know whether you can see from the camera, but the gain is on 9 o'clock or just below, and it's got a lower gain tube in the preamp. It's got 5751 tube in rather than a 12AX7, so it's about 70% of the gain of a 12AX7, and then I'm running it in with the gain really low. So I'm just pushing it a little bit harder. I'm pushing it a reasonable amount with the compressor and the EP booster anyway, but this gain boost just basically gives the amp a bit of a kick, so it gets a little bit louder and a little bit more gainy for that kind of bluesy lead tone. So if I don't need distortion or drive really, I just want a bit of oomph, then that's what this sound does. So that's kind of side effect of that is because the boost is before the delays, it just makes the delays come out a little bit more as well, which is kind of cool. Whereas if I just use the gain boost or turned up the gain on the amp, I wouldn't get that. Okay, second sound then was with the catalyst on, which was a slightly sort of fuller, warmer sound than just the. And this time I turn on the alternate preset, and it brings in the Sweet Sound Mofo vibe. Which I really like because it's a really subtle modulation pedal. Obviously it's actually running it's running before the catalyst, Now the way it's kind of set up is it runs fuzz, vibe, overdrive essentially on the 5 loops. So the catalyst and the OCD come after the vibe, and it's just a lovely tone for any of that kind of if I want to play kind of Pink Floydy kind of stuff or anything kind of spacey, yeah, then and it's not too crazy. It's also before the noise gate, so you don't hear the noise that the pedal generates. Excellent. So next up, my sound was my overdrive, my OCD. And if I want to keep that kind of tone, but just maybe play a lead break or just do something that gives me more sustain, then the alternate preset turns on the catalyst, which is after the OCD. So with it off, with it on, just fattens up the tone. Still pretty much quiet because the noise gate is doing its job, but it gives me an alternative, kind of more mellow lead tone than the fuzz pedal. So that's why I like that. Tone number 4 was the 69 fuzz, the more vintage style fuzz. And the alternate preset does all kinds of craziness. If you remember from the last video, the OCD and 69 fuzz don't go through the compressor or the EP booster, they use the clean boost instead. When I switch to the alternate preset, it turns on the vibe, which is after the fuzz, turns off the clean boost, turns on the EP boost and turns on the compressor. So there's a lot of changes going on, but it was just to get it sounding right with the vibe. So it might not be a tone that you use all the time, but it just gives me something different, something a little bit kind of gnarly sounding. Just it's fun. Just when you want something that's texturally a little bit different, and because it's after the fuzz, it's not affecting the gain of the fuzz, the vibe itself, so it still cleans up nicely. And because the compressor is after the vibe, it's just smoothing it out a little bit, so it's a bit more subtle than if I didn't have the compressor on. And then finally, remembering to take my volume off 0 before I switch to 70 BC on. So this was my fuzz lead tone. And then I press the alternate preset and it brings in the catalyst just to thicken things up. So with it off, it's just to fatten it, give it a little bit more sustain, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more low end. So it's not really giving it any more boost in a way, just helping it out, enhancing the tone, and it's great for holding really long notes, particularly if I wasn't in a small room and I could turn the attenuator down a little bit or even disconnect it completely. But that is frighteningly loud for such a small room, so it's only something I would do live. Anyway, so there we go. That's alternate presets using RJM gear with my sound, exotic effects, some MXR pedals, and full tone effects, drive pedals, and a sweet sound mofo vibe, which is the cute little one that's white usually. Although there are a few black ones kicking around, and I don't know whether they sound any different, but I want a black one just so I can try them against each other. What can we say? That's what gear is all about. Okay guys, until next time, take care, and I will see you soon.